Hey guys, if you like this content, I would greatly appreciate it if you guys like the video and subscribed to my channel. It helps make these videos worth it going forward. Hey guys, Altcoin Sherpa here with a crypto market review. As always, this is not financial advice. I am not an expert. Do your own research. Okay, so it's been like a week or 2 weeks or so since I've been doing some videos. Was on a holiday and checking out Puerto Rico. So we'll just go with BTC USD on the daily here. What's the context of the market? The context of the market is that this is still in a range, as it has been for the last like 2 months. Price is just chopped around. You can do a you can just do a fib of the 1.5 and 0, and you'll just see that there's a lot of confluence with those levels. So price is already ranged for 50 days, and you can just do something like this, where we look at the EQ of the range. And if you can see on the daily, price recently tapped the EQ, which was 35.3K, and rejected. Now, what does this mean? It really doesn't mean much in the overall context of everything. I mean, it's still in a range. You would look for something like this, where price to flip and then test the range highs. That is certainly a trade you can take. But for now, this is just like a scalper's paradise. I would not personally trade unless you are an expert scalper. And if you want to learn in these conditions, I think it's good. You'll likely lose money if you are an inexperienced trader, but that's okay. That's part of the process. I would personally lower size because your overall confidence is probably not as high as when shit was mooning, and your overall setups are also going to be different now than they were back in February, for instance, or January. So overall, like, my recommendation, if you are a new trader, sure, you can take some trades now, but just know that it's going to be pretty choppy overall. There are several trades you can take. You can wait for a break of 35K and then test the range highs. You could wait for a breakdown of this support level here at 33.5K and test the range lows around 30K, or 31K, depending on where you want to scalp. Again, there are a lot of setups you can take right now for intraday traders. If you're an intraday trader, you probably love this range. Like, personally, I'm trading, but I'm not super active. I did get filled around here. Had my first target price. Had my first take profit in the 36Ks, but they did not hit. So now it's close to my entry. Now I'm still in profit, but obviously less so. To me, like, from a higher time frame perspective, like, I still believe that 45K or 50,000 is going to come. Price is chopped around for quite some time, and I do believe that 50K is certainly a possibility. I know I've said this for weeks now, so like, I honestly have no idea when it's going to happen, but I do feel confident that 50K will come. After that, I have no idea. Like, maybe new lows to 20K, maybe like this is just the overall macro bottom. I have no idea. I do feel confident of 50K though. There's a lot of reasons for this. Prices chopped around here for quite some time. A lot of people got liquidated on this move down, and there is a lot of resting liquidity, I'm assuming, all the way up here near this high volume node near 50K. And if you're looking for this overall indicator, this is volume profile. It just shows where volume is most transacted. So yeah, check it out. And there's a lot of stuff you can also read about it as well. But for me personally, I'm still of the opinion that something like 45K will get tapped, and then after that, I have no idea. We could see new lows. We could for me personally, I always thought we were just going to hit something like 50K, hit some sort of like higher low, and something like this would make a lot of sense to me. But I'll take it level to level overall after 50K gets tapped. Like, this is just something that's going to happen, like, in my opinion. I don't know when it's going to happen, but this is something I feel pretty confident on. So that's the kind of my overall higher time frame market view of what I think will happen in the coming weeks or months. Making some sort of lower high and then just chopping around for the summer seems pretty likely. And if this happens, like altcoins should go up in the short term. Like they should, alt BTC should be okay when it's first making its move. But if it starts to make it, if BTC moves very, very strongly, then alt BTC pairs probably will suffer. But we'll look more into the alt BTC pairs later on. But for now, I think that this is kind of what I'm thinking. Is just, you know, we'll see another test of this range high, probably a pullback, and then eventually 50Ks, big pullback, and then chop around. But we'll see. Still love the level. If you are an intraday trader, then you probably are loving this range. There are a lot of setups you can take, honestly. There really are. Like, the next setup you can take is probably buying something like in the lower 31 to 32Ks. That's like the next area up. That's like maybe your next, that's like the next setup that you can take. But you also want to see from an EMA perspective is to see some of these EMAs reset. You'll see something like the, you'll see these start to converge together, and everything will start condensing as price just continues to chop around. And hopefully the 200-day EMA, this red line, will flip to support eventually. That would be nice. So you'll see like the red line do something like this, where it'll like start to come down, and then you'll see the other EMAs kind of converging as price just chops around, and then it'll move. But the longer that price hangs around here, I think the more explosive the move up will be. So those are kind of my overall thoughts on BTC USD in the short term. I do believe that we'll hit 45 to 50,000 before any new lows. Like if we just go straight to 20K from here, that would be pretty surprising to me. But yeah, I guess we'll just see. ETH USD on the daily here. Clearly I was very wrong about this, like going up to the mid 3Ks so soon. Everything, it kind of followed Bitcoin, and it looks fine for now, but it doesn't look great by any means. I mean, it's still within this range of like this 2,900 to 1,900 area, where price is just chopping around, and you can see like tons of volume being transacted within this area. I wouldn't be surprised if, you know, we just see more chop. You can see if you just fib it out too, you'll probably see like, yeah, this EQ is acting as support and resistance. Support, and then now it's acting as resistance. So you'd want to see this flip before you see the range high tapped. So you might want to see something like this before. That's another trade setup you could take. But until then, there's not really a trade you can take, in my opinion. You can look to maybe like if you wanted to short, the EQ would have been good, high volume node, and then coming back down, you might want to target something like 1900 or low 2000s if you want to be aggressive. Again, this chart doesn't look really super good, but similar to Bitcoin, if Bitcoin goes higher to like the 4550s, then I think that we'll see mid 3Ks. But for now, it's just chopping around, like not really much. ETH BTC, this to me, this is a better chart, I think. This area around the 055 area has been tapped to support twice. It looks okay in the short term, but I mean, it still needs to try to flip this 066 level. If it does, then you'll see something like this where it'll go up, and then likely we'll just continue to keep seeing lower highs, in my opinion. This would make sense to me, or even a little bit lower, something like this. And then like maybe we see equal lows, so it just chops around. Like I don't think ETH BTC will really do super well in the meantime, like in the short term. It's quite possible that just like this hits a lower high and then goes lower to some key support levels, maybe like this former high at 044. That would be an interesting level, and then also this like level around here, like this 053 region. Or actually, it has already been tapped. So never mind. zooming out. But yeah, this is kind of like my overall plan. If this like probably will hit a lower high, and then if Bitcoin goes to like $50,000, then I expect this to go lower, which is still fine. Like in the grand context, this is still a bullish market structure that you have to like really acknowledge that. Like there's still higher highs, higher lows. Now on the daily, you obviously can't say that. Like on the daily, it's still like a bearish market structure because you see like a lower high here, and then you see like a lower low here as well, like very slightly. So on the daily, it certainly doesn't look great, but on higher time frame charts, it still looks good. You just want to look for this low to form, and it takes a while for lows to form as well. Like you can see over the course of 2020 and 2021, price just consolidated for weeks. So you'll want to see price come back down maybe to like 050 and then like chop around for a bit and form a bottom, and then maybe a big run up in Q4 of 2021. That would make sense to me personally, is if we see ETH BTCs come on down and then chop around and then continue higher. There are a lot of fundamental catalysts, although I have read some negative stuff as well for ETH 2.0, but you know, we'll see what the market thinks. I mean, everything's still going to be dependent on Bitcoin. So those are the BTC, ETH, and ETH BTC. Those are kind of the big ones. I'll go into some altcoins now. Like I kept a few here. LTC looks terrible. I mean, this just looks bad. And I also want to preface that like pretty much every chart looks like this. You'll see high, come back down, like a higher high, and this is where I got bullish because I thought that springtime was going to be great for alts. I was clearly fucking wrong. Big nuke down, chop, 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 somewhat another mini leg down, and then another move. This right here is the chart that you'll see for pretty much every altcoin. And if the altcoin that I'm reviewing, I haven't looked at all the altcoins yet, that I'm reviewing, if it looks like this chart, I'm just going to say like refer to LTC, because like all these charts kind of look similar. Like, you know, they're not really anything different about them. So what do I think about coins like this? I mean, for me personally, it's still within this range. This is like just a range of 120 to 200, and obviously, you know, that is pretty significant range in general. It's like a 50% range or whatever, but price is just chopping around. Like there are a lot of micro levels here. One promising thing is that you are seeing these smaller bodies, which usually indicates accumulation. Like you want to see these types of candles in general. Like this is like pretty good, and you can see before on the run up, you'll see this. Like for instance, this is in 2020. This is classic accumulation, where you see these small candle bodies, not much volatility. Like, I mean, look, like if you bought in September 4th and you waited nearly a month and a half, you know, price didn't really do anything. This is just like all accumulation, small candles, like low volatility, small volume. This is exactly what accumulation looks like. Now, price obviously doesn't quite look like that yet. You want to see smaller candles, but it looks like the bulk of the move is mostly over, and you'll just want to see more of this type of price action, because this to me shows that this is accumulating, and you can start to see some of the differences in the candle bodies, like from here relative to how we saw it back there, where there was a lot of movement. Now every altcoin for the alt USD pair is going to follow BTC. So if Bitcoin does go to 45 to 50,000 like I expect, I personally believe that you'll see like some pretty strong moves, something like this, like where you'll see this price void filled out. And what I mean by price void, you'll see like when you see these big inefficient moves, you'll see that there's no trading volume that happens during these moves with all of these other levels, because they just got liquidated so quickly that usually when you see something like this, you'll see me maybe refer to it as an inefficient move, or many other people will as well. Usually price will want to fill this area out. And what I mean by that is it'll like trade within this area, and you'll see like price trade through it. So that's usually what it means by filling it out. Fill out the inefficiency, fill out the void, but however you want to say it. And so personally, when you start to see this type of stuff, like these big moves, you'll see that price does want to fill out this void. So if price does go to 45 to 50,000 for BTC USD, then I do expect this to fill this out, and we'll see kind of like the mid-high 200s, and then from there I have no idea. But we're seeing some promising stuff right here, like with these candles, and I will start to now review a lot of altcoins. As I said before, if your coin looks like LTC and Luna, like I'm about to show you here, then I'm just gonna say look at Luna. So here I'll show you guys now here. This is kind of what I still expect. I still think that price is going to do this. Again, similar, I just detailed the plan for LTC. I mean, again, this is the type of stuff that you want to see. Like, these are very tight bodies for the candles, and like you can see that there's not a huge amount of volatility. This, to me, like I think that Luna's fairly bottomed out. I think I'd be pretty surprised if this goes lower. Now, you never say never. If BTC goes to 20K, this is obviously going to get fucking destroyed, but to me, this like looks pretty good as an accumulation zone. And if you are looking for an inactive trade, but one that like has probably pretty high percent success rate, I think that this would be fine just to average in here. You don't need a market buy, just like kind of average in and then sell at 10. Like I think that's like I think it's pretty good upside. I know it's like a huge like 100% gain or whatever from here, but to me this like seems like pretty likely. But yeah, as I said, it's going to be similar. Like many charts are going to look like this or LTC. So let's now look at some other charts such as MATIC. MATIC seems okay. It doesn't look great. Price has clearly found the short-term floor here at the $1 mark. This is still like it's still a good project, of course. Like, layer 2s are like being used quite a bit. But it's just chopping around at this point. This isn't really a good active trade in my opinion. You can draw trend lines all sorts of ways. I mean, obviously trend lines are lagging indicators anyway. But to me, it's just kind of hanging around. It's not really doing a whole lot. Like, you can draw your trend line. To me, this is not an active trade. I would just assume that this is going to keep chopping around. Could you debate this as accumulation here? Sure, that's like possible, of course. You want to start to see these other EMAs start to converge. You can see all these EMAs starting to converge now. And once you start to see the 200 EMA get flipped, that's, again, when it's starting to look pretty good. But again, EMAs and trend lines, those are all lagging indicators. I expect this just to chop around for a while. SHIB, it's a shit coin, but maybe people are accumulating down here. I have no idea. Like, just because it's a shit coin doesn't mean it's not going to move. Looks like fine for now. I mean, wouldn't surprise me if this is like accumulating. If I were to buy, I would buy at whatever the fuck number this is, 756. I can't see fractions of a penny, of course, but okay. So dot looks fine, similar to Luna. Distribution, nuke, chop, 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 nuke. Now it looks like it's probably accumulating. Again, look at the difference between the candles now and the candles here. Much more volatility back then at June, like all of June to now. Like, we're seeing like later parts of June. Much smaller bodies, more like consistent buy volume. I think it's at least going to go to like $20. Like, this is a trade you could take, is just something like this. Clear SR level here at 16, and you just do something like this. Oh, the problem is the RR is like not very good, actually. You would just buy the break probably, and then. But I don't like this trade because stop loss is not. It's not very easy to tell what's going on, in my opinion. So yeah, something like this is like a trade you could potentially take, but still might take a while. But again, similar to Luna, I mean, this is just going to chop around and then go up. If Bitcoin goes to 45.50, then you'll see something like 30 bucks. Link, this looks like LTC and Luna. Nuke down, chop, 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 another leg down. Now it's potentially accumulating. Link looks okay for now. I mean, the higher time frame EMAs still need some work in my opinion, but looks fine. But I mean, again, you can just dollar cost average in. Another leg down would look like 15 bucks, I bet. Actually more like 13, it looks like. High volume node, be a good buy around $13. ADA looks good, in my opinion. Relative to the rest of the altcoin market, this has like been chopping around. You can see a range here form, and you can see the swing high. Usually you see these big, these wicks up. They are generally key resistance and support levels. So around 150, you saw this was like a key level, and you can see it constantly being tapped. 3 times, price finally breaks through. This was the big nuke in late May, and now we just see like lots of chop. But you still see this level being relevant as price cannot break through here. But to me, like ADA looks pretty decent. If you want to be conservative on a entry here, I would probably target like 125 personally. So something like this like would be okay. But to me, it's still ranging. Like this isn't really a good. It's not really a great active trade if you want to like crank up leverage, and obviously like the entire environment personally in my opinion is like not great for that unless you're an expert scalper, just because like when you see these really choppy price movements, your invalidation levels get very confusing. At least for me it does. It's like not very clear, whereas if you did like a longer term swing, you could have like an invalidation below this $1 level because it's like pretty clear cut, right? But if you're doing intraday stuff, like all this price action here, it's just kind of confusing to figure out where your stop is. But ADA looks good. I mean, like another trade you could take is just waiting for a break of 150 and then move up to 185. That would be like my next area of interest. But you can see the EMA is also like 200-day EMA is still acting as support, which is not something a lot of the other coins can say. Woo, I hold some Woo. I am staking mine on Ascend EX, I think. Still think it's a good project. It's just chopping around, not really doing anything. I would expect this just to continue chopping around for a while. You can see some of these other levels here, like 75 cents is like this resistance area that can't break it. And you can also see like some of these other levels as well. Like $1 is obviously pretty key, like from a psychological standpoint. And yeah, it's a good project personally, in my opinion, but not financial advice. RUNE looks okay. Personally, I think that it's mostly bottomed out. Like I think like buying around this area is still okay. I bought at like the low mid 5s. I didn't hit the low at 450, but like I mean, to me this should just like mean revert a little bit higher. But again, the profit targets have been a little bit confusing for me on this one. But yeah, I bought some around down here. I think it's still going to go higher in the short term, like when everything else starts to move. I look at the 200-day EMA as like a SR flip too. Like the safer trade might just be waiting till like $8 gets flipped, but again, depends on your style, depends on what you want. Atom BTC, this looks okay. Again, profit target's very unclear, like lots of price history here. You could probably say like maybe 4,200 sats would be a good area to take profits. I don't know why I marked this level. This looks like a non-level. Looks okay in the short term, but it's still just very choppy. This isn't really anything I'd like to trade. If Bitcoin makes a big move, it'll probably go lower. GRT, good moves lately. You can start to see some volume waking up a little bit. That's kind of interesting to observe. This had bad tokenomics, so I already like sold all my shit back at a while ago. I sold this back at $1 or something. To me, it looks okay. It doesn't look great. You could maybe look for something like you could look for a break of 98 cents, I guess. But again, the profit target is a little bit unclear to me. You can see the swing low has acted as support a few times. You can see it's acted as support several times. But similar to the rubber bouncy ball example that I give all the time, you can see just like demand drying up and then nuking through. Maybe a trade you could take something like this, but again, stop loss somewhat confusing. So I don't really know what you would mark as stop loss. You'll have to see how price develops, but this could potentially be a trade for you guys. Overall, it looks fine to me. Like it's just probably going to go to the range highs and then pull back. This to me seems likely. We just go up to like 98 cents and then head down lower. CBC, don't know what this coin is. It looks pretty bad. I wouldn't buy it. Saw this kind of bullish consolidation area, hold a support, and now it's going higher. Maybe these levels to me are not very clear. Like it's maybe technically at a resistance area now, but to me this is like not bullish, not bearish. I wouldn't buy here. I mean, to me it seems likely it would probably go back to this area. I'm guessing, yep, you can see I already knew it was going to be like a high volume node area where you just buy down here. I would just wait till like 15 cents probably. If you must buy now, then at least wait till like 20 cents or something, or 23 cents. FTM looks like Luna or LTC, so I'm not going to talk about it. Just chopping around, not doing anything. IOTA, same thing. LTC like Luna. Just refer back to what I said before. That's the disclaimer, as I said. If any coin looks like these, LTC or Luna, scroll back to what I was talking about before, because this just looks like that. Solana does not look like Luna and LTC. It looks relatively good comparatively to the rest of the altcoin market. 200-day EMA still held up as support, but price looks like it might head back down to $25. Wouldn't surprise me at all to see something like that. You can see this demand area getting tapped over and over again, so it is pretty worrisome. Again, rubber ball example. If you want to see more of what I'm talking about, go to my like strength of support and resistance levels video under education, and you'll see that price is often like a bouncy ball where it just like that, just smaller reactions every time. And this is something you might see as well for here and Solana. We're seeing smaller and smaller reactions to this demand level at $25 every time is what I'm trying to say. And that's usually never a good sign. So if it hits $25 again, that's like pretty worrisome, in my opinion. And it wouldn't surprise me to see this go lower to like $15 or something. But I will say that Solana still is like, from a fundamental standpoint, and like all the backers it has behind it, like Sam and everyone else, and all the stuff that's being built on it too, is It's bullish in the sense that this will hold up still probably better than other altcoins. ALGO at its range low now. Expecting this just to continue chopping around. Wait for other EMAs to reset a little bit, and yeah, this is like a non-trade to me. You could just buy at the range low and then sell at this EQ maybe. And then there's also like some other targets that you can have as well, like 110 is like an area. This is an area that you might want to take profits at for sure. HTR looks fine to me. High volume node area now. Oopsies. Yeah, this is just like chopping around. This is what you want to see for most bottoms though. This is like the type of rounded bottom type of structure that you'll see. Might end up turning into a cup and handle too, but you'll see something like this where forms a rounded bottom, forms its handle, and then goes higher. This is what you'll see, and then it'll fill this out. This is a pretty clean chart though, I'll say. For HTR is a pretty clean chart. Not an active trade if you want to take it, but one that you can consider just dollar cost averaging in and just sitting on it. AAVE has pretty good fundamentals, and they listed something about some institutional stuff, and I think that many DeFi projects will start to have some of their centralized finance and traditional finance arms with their projects, and we're seeing, we saw that with Compound. So AAVE looks pretty good for right now, but I mean it is approaching a resistance area, and yeah, I mean it's like I wouldn't buy here by any means at all. Decent, it's okay volume, nice volume coming in, but definitely would not buy here. I would just wait on this one. It's still a good project for AAVE Bitcoin, but I would wait for a break of this level first. Look for something like this, like a break, and then test this level. This, I can't read however many satoshis that is. Looks okay, but yeah, this is not a trade for right now. It's still at resistance in my opinion. If you want to buy a dip, like a Bitcoin starts to go do something big, I would just buy down here. What is that? 60K, 600K? I don't know. I can't read however many satoshis it is. AXS, this one has been freaking incredible relative to the altcoin market. I would just buy at 650 and 580. This is like a fib I did earlier today. I feel pretty confident that this is going to go to that area. I mean, if you want to be aggressive, then you can buy at 720 or so, but to me, I would wait and be patient and just look to buy at 650. Like I have my alerts set, so I'll just like start averaging in. Once I see 720 get broken, that's when I'll start like bidding. But of course, I'll look at the rest of the market. There's a lot of confluence with this like 580 to 650 level, and yeah, I feel pretty good about like bidding those levels. This is like the type of setup that I really love, actually. I think part of it was just because I was born in the bear market, and these are the types of setups that look pretty good. QNT, this looks really strong actually, relatively speaking, and we saw this 200 EMA on the 4-hour has acted as support twice. Looks okay. I mean, you have to be a little bit concerned though with high sell volume like this. But for now, it's still a bullish market structure in my opinion, because it's still like higher highs and higher lows across the board. But you'll really want to see this like be able to break this $100 mark. Yeah, it still looks okay for right now. So anyways, that's my crypto market review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for not doing many videos lately. I will get back on schedule this week. So thank you for watching and good luck.